All right, so hello everyone, and welcome to our first episode of our podcast entitled You Are Fine, but You're Not Really Fine.
Walk out the door, you see someone that you know, and they ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Yeah, so as the title suggests, we will be discussing mental health issues that go overlooked in today's day and age that essentially cause us to not be fine, but we still tell people that we're fine. So, Clara, do you have anything to say about this?
Yeah, so with the current pandemic's prolonged lockdown, many people have gotten used to the days and weeks spent indoors, attending classes and doing tasks while in bed. So this has led many young adults to display social withdrawal or hikikomori symptoms.
Therefore, the aim of our podcast is to address the question, are we turning into hikikomori? We will be discussing the hikikomori phenomenon, effects of the lockdown on our social skills, and how staying indoors has been made so much easier as our lives transition online, and why this sort of severe social withdrawal can be problematic.
Yeah, so before we get into it, we will do a short round of introduction to ourselves so that you guys can know us better. So I'll go first. I'm Clara. I'm from Indonesia. I'm a student in International Medical University studying my second year of psychology. And for your information, me and Sandra are both batchmates of the same course. So this topic is actually very dear to me because since last February of 2019, I have been staying the longest time in my life in Malaysia, and I didn't get the chance to fly back to Indonesia at all until last Thursday actually. So, and because of that, I understand how this COVID-19 has an effect on people because with 1 year plus of staying at home and not of staying just in Malaysia in my own room and not seeing my family or my friends, it gets super lonely at times. So although me and my family call each other often, even in Malaysia, but still nothing beats physical interaction.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sandra, and I'm from India. I think this topic is something that's really relevant to me and applicable to most of our daily lives because we're all experiencing some degree of social isolation due to COVID protocols. So while I'm lucky enough to say I stay with my family, I really miss being able to spend time with my friends. Before the pandemic, we just call each other up, take a train, hop on a train, and then meet up at any location of our choosing because it was just that easy to stay connected in real life. And while we have the internet and we can still stay connected, I miss having the freedom to call someone up and meet up. It's really not the same. And I think it's COVID has taken its toll on all of us. Hope you're doing better, Clara, now that you've been able to meet up with your family again.
Yes, thank you. I feel so much better already just looking at them for like 5 seconds from the airport. But yeah, we'll just get right into this episode. So for this episode, we'll talk about 2 points. Firstly, what is hikikomori? And secondly, the effects on hikikomori on our social relationships. So for the first point, so what is hikikomori? So for me personally, I love Japan. I love their culture. So hikikomori is not something that is foreign to me. But I think a lot of people will be unfamiliar with this term. Sandra, would you like to explain?
Sure, I too can advocate for Japan and its culture. I'm a huge fan of anime. But anyway, let's get right into it. Hikikomori, also known as social withdrawal syndrome, is a situation in which a person with psychosis is withdrawn into his or her home environment for more than 6 months and does not participate in society and social activities such as attending school or going to work. So this is the definition set forth by Japan's Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare in 2010. So although hikikomori was initially defined as a culture-bound syndrome prevalent only within Japan, recent reports from other countries show that people of different social cultural backgrounds also experience similar cases. Hikikomori-like cases were spotted in Oman, Hong Kong, Spain, India, South Korea, and the United States. So therefore, we can say that hikikomori is a globally prevalent condition rather than a culturally bound syndrome. So, Clara, do you have anything else to add on?
Yeah, I'll just give out an extra information. So there's actually a difference between hikikomori and COVID-19 isolation, whereby hikikomori is voluntary, while the pandemic social isolation is in most cases enforced by the governments or by the individual's interest in taking care of their health and safety. However, the two phenomena are similar in their criteria, and we believe that the COVID-19 lockdown has the potential to turn people into hikikomori. So this is something I totally agree with. I think despite COVID-19 not being voluntary, the environment that people are forced into is so similar to those of hikikomoris, isolated, and it's super easy for people to just get withdrawn from life and responsibilities. I myself will be tempted to actually not accept calls, not reply WhatsApp messages, not go to class. Because it just gets so lonely and stressful at times, and the environment just supports that.
Yeah, that's very true. I can totally relate to the feeling of being stressed out and lonely because of how difficult it sometimes feels to even have the energy to reply to our messages. So I guess we can conclude that while COVID-19 isolation does not automatically qualify one as hikikomori, it can put us at an increased risk of falling victim to this phenomenon. So in line with what Clara said, it's increasingly important for us to stay connected and make an active effort to keep in touch with our friends. The potential harms of growing too comfortable with social isolation are something that we should really take seriously because getting too comfortable with the situation puts us at risk of finding it more difficult when we have to return to on-campus school or face-to-face meetings. We shouldn't we should remember how to socially interact with people, and we should preserve the skills that we might have not put to use during the pandemic, such as our ability to socially interact with others.
Yes, I totally agree with you. So, on our next topic, which is the second one, we'll be discussing on the impact on pandemic on our social relationships. So, Sandra, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So I'm sorry, I'm a little sick. So before that, I'll start with explaining what social connection means. Social connections mean being close with others, having a sense of belonging, and this is a crucial aspect of human development and well-being. So studies have found that having social interactions, often conversing with other people and etc., is directly linked with improved health and well-being. Lower quality of social relationships actually have physiological health consequences as well. So what does this mean? Social interaction is important not only for our psychological well-being health, but also for our physical health. Essentially, the best way for us to stay healthy during this time is to connect with other people.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the importance of connecting with people, and I cannot stress this more. I feel like just talking to people in real life will honestly solve so many problems. Even now, in the making of this project in itself, Sandra, I think you can relate. There are so many communication problems, and it's it causes fights, it causes misunderstandings, it causes you emotional strain, and it just gets to you at times. And not just communication problems, the whole experience of connecting with people through the internet is just way too stressful and draining. Now that I've been through it for a year, I'm personally an introverted person, but even for me, the effects of it are getting to me.
Yeah, I can relate in that aspect. I would actually consider myself an introverted person in the sense I have a limited capacity for social interaction, but I also miss being able to interact with people because it's something that's important to us, regardless of whether we're introverts or extroverts. I really hope you're okay after all the stress and the effects of having to stay away from your family for so long, Clara.
Thanks, Sandra. I hope you're okay too, because I know I am not going through this alone, and you are also getting the impacts of it. So that's why it's even more important to know the effects of it now that we're socially distant. When the COVID-19 pandemic began, people's social lives and relationships completely changed due to lockdown measures and social distancing rules. So people have had to spend months, and for us, it's been a year plus in our homes, unable to physically interact with each other, with our loved ones. And research have shown that separation from family and friends has had a significant impact on the population. The extended periods of isolation could possibly result in psychological issues such as depression as well as increased suicide rates. So that's horrible. While the internet does, while the internet and advances of technology have brought the world closer together and provided us means to actually interact with each other, however, there's little evidence that suggests that this internet connection, internet experience can actually replace replace the physical relationships. And I personally would advocate that it doesn't at all. So, I mean, of course, yes, having internet is so much better without in the internet. It helps you with boredom throughout the day. It helps you with actually just getting something true to people online. You can at least communicate. However, when we communicate with each other on the internet, it's just so stressful. So many things are filtered out and we don't get to see the full person. And secondly, the barrier of just turning off the calls is always there. Not to mention, it's even harder to interact during class as there are so many people and there's no physical cues. Sorry. So it's like because there's too many people, nobody will just open up. And in our class, it's like 20, 30 people, and that already happened. I cannot imagine what is going on in a class with like 100 or 200 people. I
Yeah,
bet nobody will actually open up.
yeah, I agree. It's really hard to tell when the lecturer asks people to share because you can't look around the room and see if there's someone else who wants to go first. So it usually ends with an awkward period in which no one is really willing to speak up because it's very difficult to read the room from an online session. So I feel like one of the things that gives so much value to physical interaction would be our ability to connect with one another. We can pick up on social cues, we can empathize, we can read someone's body language or micro expression. And all these things are difficult to do when all your interactions are not with the person, but a pixelated image of the person across a screen. So it's not just a physical barrier, there's also an emotional barrier because it limits your self-expression. Personally, I miss being able to hear my friends speak in person. There's something comforting about just hearing a familiar voice without the audio interaction, or without any audio interruptions or static getting in the way. And I feel like that's something I really miss ever since the pandemic has
I
started.
agree. And like, during internet communication, there's like so many things going on. Like we have to keep asking the person, like, do you listen to us? Am I clear? Can you hear me? It's like and like accidentally sometimes we mute ourselves and we continue. It's like
I can
oh,
totally relate.
yeah, yeah. It's just bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one thing that happens is because we have all our meetings on Teams, we join by default with our mics off. So this not only during class lectures when someone is speaking, but even in group meetings, there were so many times I joined with my mic muted and I was wondering why no one responded to me. So I feel like this is something that wouldn't happen in real life. It's
It
mostly
doesn't.
yeah, this is something that only happens online, in real life you can just talk, people can hear you, it's so much simpler, it's so much easier to socially interact. And this is also of increased concern because our inability to socially interact or practice our social skills can actually contribute even more to the hikikomori syndrome because researchers postulate that individuals may enter a hikikomori-like state after extended periods of social isolation. And this is actually a finding based on previous epidemics. And we can actually see an example of this that hits closer to home because school students who are returning for face-to-face classes have a lot of trouble have a lot of trouble in physical school and they tend to skip classes altogether. So this is something showing us the hikikomori symptoms are actually on the rise in people within our age group. Um, to add on to this, we have found that Malaysian blogger Gan, who is a self-processed hikikomori, has stated that the ease of access for things such as online shopping, ordering food, and household supplies has negative impacts on social interaction because there's no need to leave the house anymore. So it makes people who are it makes it easier for people who are self-isolating to stay within their shell. So another study by Wong et al. Has actually pointed out that resources supplied to doorsteps, such as online food delivery services, online shopping platforms, and simply the convenience of online gaming and increased internet usage has really facilitated social withdrawal. And due to economic conditions and the increase in rise in unemployment, especially among young adults, this is leading to increased cases of isolation and social withdrawal. And this is very concerning because young adults are actually the group that are most at risk of of the hikikomori phenomenon. So, Clara, do you have any experiences that do you have any negative experiences as a result of how connected we all are online and the convenience of just ordering food and ordering whatever you want, having it delivered to your doorstep?
Dude, I have a lot. I couldn't like agree more with what the study said. So firstly, online shopping, that will be the death of me. I just can't stop once I start. I definitely resonate with what the social medias that they mentioned. I feel as if when I scroll through this stuff, just clicking into IG and then clicking IG reels, and then like days, hours would pass by. It just passed by so fast I don't even know. And also if these things actually increase the chances for me to ruin my normal body clock. I start to sleep later and later and later and later. I'm not sure if you resonate with me or not.
I can definitely relate to staying up later because it just happens when you're even more so during the pandemic, you know. It's difficult to talk to people, so you end up doing other things such as scrolling to Instagram, you know, living your life. You can't really live your life the way you want. You can at least see other people doing the things you want to be doing. And I don't know, I feel like this is kind of addictive, you know. You're just scrolling through, maybe you say, I'm gonna open this app for 10 minutes, and you look at the clock and an hour has passed. I feel like we're more at risk of socially isolating ourselves because we grow so comfortable just having our entire lives transition online. It's kind of ironic. I can definitely relate to the point about online shopping when I just want to buy one pair of headphones on Shopee, but then there are literally thousands and thousands, and you end up scrolling for an hour and doing literally nothing else. Um, I feel like how it's ironic that the convenience and how easy it is, the convenience of our online lives is really what makes it harmful towards us, maybe. What do you think about that, Clara?
I kind of have a different point of view on that, although I agree that the convenience does elevate the risk of us, having this hikikomori withdrawal symptoms. However, I think a huge fault of it lies on our own self-control, because if we are fully self-controlled and we know what we are supposed to do, we know what we're not supposed to do, and we actually execute, I don't think we'll have this problem. Although I agree how much the convenience of the media actually elevate this risk. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely can agree. I actually used to meet up with my friends to play games together maybe once a week before the pandemic.
Mhm.
Now everyone's online all the time. So if you want to get in a game, you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait until I don't know. You don't have to wait until the weekend until everyone can set up a convenient time and meet up. You can just get out your devices and everyone's online. And yeah, I agree that self-control definitely plays a part. But I feel like the groups that are at risk here, mostly young adults and even children, I feel like having too much convenience can also be a bad thing, even if it's up to the individual to self regulate. It does increase our risk of going into hikikomori like state. There's no real obligation for us to socially interact with people because there's so many options available to us online. And I feel like this is something we should really talk more about, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And I'm really glad that we actually get to do this podcast. I think it's like a media where I can speak out and people can hear, and people can also, know that we ourselves, like, there are people that are going through the same things. So yeah. And just
Yeah.
to add on, actually, aside from my sleeping schedule, my diet control is gone as well. Sometimes I will eat way too much, and sometimes I will not at all. So there's not much control in my nutritional values as well, because I can't really know what veggies I'm getting or what kind of actually food I'm getting on Grab, because they just like you see the names and sometimes the pictures, and sometimes it's not really accurate. So yeah, so all
Yeah,
this actually just kind of elevate the symptoms for hikikomori for me. Yeah.
yeah. I think the convenience of ordering food online is definitely something that's a harm. But since I live with my family, I feel like nutrition is probably not the biggest issue I'm facing.
Oh,
I'm lucky enough to have my parents with me. So for the most part we probably cook for ourselves. But I think but I think another thing that I can personally relate to is probably I guess the convenience of not having to talk to people. Sometimes you don't feel like going out with your friends, but then you made plans, so you still end up going out with them, and you get some sort of social interaction. Now you don't even have that to rely on. You know, it's
yeah.
just so easy to not talk to people when you don't feel like it. And I feel like this is a harm that probably a lot of people are facing during this time.
Yes, and then due to the internet communication, you cannot just speak out really freely as we do during physical interactions. When we are physical, we joke, we just say stupid stuff, but in the end, we get to bond more. But then during internet communication, it's just not as easy. You cannot actually like just joke around as freely as you can when as
Yeah,
usual. So it's like a very condensed kind of communication, and I think, yeah, I think it elevates the chances of people to withdraw themselves even more. Because
yeah,
when you get together, it's not like you're actually talking to a person, you're like talking about tasks, talking about assignments. So yeah, those things are just bad.
yeah. It's not so often that we meet up with people for the fun of it or because we want to
Yeah.
interact with them. It's
Yeah.
usually due to other obligations. And yeah, I'd agree. This is probably one of the biggest harms towards us today. Sorry about the birds. Um, yeah,
No,
the bird. Honestly, even hearing the birds outside, this is the closest thing to being outside that I can relate to because they often fly by my window. Sometimes they stop by.
oh,
Um, I guess hearing the birds is one of the few nice things that wasn't taken away by the pandemic. But there are other things I miss, like back in my school, back when I went to school, our school is surrounded by forest, and a lot of our seniors would go back there because it's just such a nice environment. You know, we'd have like annual meetups and stuff there. We can't even do that anymore, and I miss being able to talk with my school friends, being able to basically wander around in the foresty areas, and these are all things that we don't really get to experience because of the pandemic. It's I feel like there's not as much value in online interaction, even though some form of social interaction is important for us. So this leads to us essentially intentionally or unintentionally distancing ourselves. And this is something people should talk about more, you know?
yeah. And like after the talk today, I feel like it is made convenient for us to actually withdraw. It's made easy. It's kind of like we're forced into an environment where like the choices to go through withdrawal symptoms of hikikomori is just there for you. And
Mhm.
for me, like I'm seeing this myself in how my sleeping schedule makes it harder for me to even talk to people online. Cause like when I'm awake, people are sleeping. When I'm sleeping, they're awake.
Oh no. I
And
think all of our sleeping schedules have fallen out of sync due to the pandemic. I,
yeah.
I hope that you're doing well and you manage to get things back on track. Now you'll be able to spend time with your family. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I'm
yeah,
feeling, I'm I feel like I can still consider myself as okay, but I know people who are, extroverted, for example, will struggle with this 1,000 times more. And
yeah,
yeah, like on top of that, like the environment that we have, the diets, exercises doesn't help us as well. For me, it like because of how bad my diets are, it's making me hard to go through the day because I have so many symptoms of being sick. I cough, I sneeze, I get headaches, I get stomach cramps all day
oh my
long before.
God, I can relate to this. There are times when I literally forget to eat for the whole day, just going to online class and after class. And I actually have days where I've just like had maybe one meal or two meals and completely forgot about everything else. And then at night I'd be wondering, why do I not feel so well anymore? It's like our lives have moved online so much, doing regular things such as eating, we don't remember these things. Yeah, I think it's scary to think about it. Like COVID, for someone for people who voluntarily self-isolate, it's just like Hikikomori, it's going to be just that much more difficult for them to come out of this habit. So I actually heard of a service in Japan where you can hire a sister to help you if you're a hikikomori. So this is something that parents of hikikomori do, where these sisters, who are usually older women, such as women in their 30s and 40s, would regularly go up to these hikikomori, talk to them, and essentially get them to come out of their shells. And it's really interesting to see that there is a way to escape this syndrome. I think we could all use someone, use someone to like facilitate that sort of social communication and get us going. It's really sad to see how the pandemic has made these things more difficult for us.
Yeah, agree. If there weren't the pandemic, we might actually can have access to our sisters as well.
I have a sister, and trust me, you do not want one.
Oh my god, exposed. Oh my goodness. And like just to end this, you can add on if you wanted, but I feel like the online classes experience, although that's our responsibilities, it's so easy to just like get, attend and then just sleep afterwards. I've heard people saying this a lot, and I will not expose any names, but
I think even the ones who aren't sleeping, we've mastered the art of sleeping with our eyes open. So while we're looking at the screen, are we actually listening to what's going on?
But then like most classes doesn't even like have it mandatory for us to open our cams. So it's like we don't even have to do that. We just like legit needs to attend and go away. Like we can do whatever we want, and that's just.
I remember once when someone unmuted in a class, there was K-pop music playing. So it really raises the question, what's going on when people turn off their cameras,
Yeah, we're just not interacting as how we're supposed to be anymore. So yeah, it's that. So I think we've reached to the end of the episode. So that's it for now for this episode. We've seen how real the impact of COVID-19 is for all of us. It affected our daily lives, it affected our sleeping routine, it affected how we interact with each other. So if you yourself resonate with this or know people who do, share, like, and subscribe to this video and stay tuned for our next episode.
Thank you.
See you all tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.